Did start recording actually?
At least I heard that recording has started.
All right. Okay, thanks. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Metal3 Community meeting. Today I'll be hosting it. And today is Wednesday, 22nd of March, 2023. And yeah, let's get started. Just general note, if you haven't added your name to the attending list, please do so. And we can go straight to the agenda. As usual, we start with introductions. If there are some people who are new to the community, this is the best time to say hi to others. While I'll mute myself for 30 seconds. Okay, since there are no new people, a couple of reminders. As usual, feel free to add your organization as an adopter to the adopters list. And also, please take a look at the incubation proposal draft. Feel free to comment, and that's very helpful and appreciated. Okay, jumping to the discussion topics. First item on TOMO, branch protection rules. Tomo, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Let me share my screen. No?
Sure. Let me stop sharing.
All right. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My Chrome crashes every time I try to share something, so I will not be sharing anything.
All right. Maybe I can help with that if that's okay, or otherwise you can go ahead.
Yes, please. If you can open, for example, the dev env and go to the branch protection rules in the settings.
Sure.
Yep. Thank you. So lately we have been with Kashif trying to look after the branch protection a bit. And we went through all the active repositories in the Metal3.io organization. And currently we enabled this kind of basic but functional branch protection rules. So basically, if we go from the top, we made sure that the require pull request before merging is on the topmost tick. And then we enabled the dismiss stale pull request approvals when you push. So basically just to ensure that the flags do not carry over if you change the content of the pull request. Then the next tick that is on is the require status checks. That was on before also, and it is of course quite important so that we mandate that the checks that are in the defined in the .github workflows are passing, no change there. And then also we made sure that the do not allow bypassing the about settings is on, which means that the if an admin, for example, for some special reason would like to override those above rules, they cannot unless they come here and make a very intentional change to the branch protection rules to allow themselves. So this way we may make sure that all our contributions are done by the book, so to speak. They need to go via PR, and the test on the PR needs to be passing. Any questions on these or comments? Any objections? Okay, then, like I said, these are the basically the relaxed set of rules, and there are a couple more that we could enable. And I would open a discussion that if we should do that or not. So the first one is to, if you scroll down a little bit, is the last one in the topmost set. Stop, go back. Yeah, the last one before the status checks require approval of the most recent reviewable push, meaning that currently when we set the approval, it carries over, so it approves the whole set, even though you push new stuff after it. This is one we can do, and it would then require the approval be on the latest patch that you push. Then the second one we can do is the require branches to be up to date before merging, meaning that you would need to be rebasing them.
Do I have a veto right on this? Because if yes, I'm going to use that. That's absolutely an insane setting. Shouldn't be enabled anywhere.
The one I was just
to be up to date. It's very narrow case of maybe infrastructure things where merge can be very problematic.
Yeah, I mean this is why these are not turned on, and I'm bringing them up here to hear your opinions.
Yeah,
so
that's going to increase a lot on both the CI and most importantly the reviewers. And
yeah,
it may encourage bad practices like people, I don't know, not reviewing other changes because they want their change to come through, and they know that if the other change comes through, they have to lose both approvals, LGTM, and CI results. And I hope nobody will gonna do that, but I've seen some people doing things like that in my past career, and that's genuinely annoying. I'm not sure it's justified nowadays. I know there's a narrow possibility that a result of a merge is not the same as result of the pull request, or the CI may be broken like that. But frankly, in my 9 years of career here, I've seen these cases maybe like I can count it with my hands. Let's put it this way: the number of cases when that happened. So I think that's a bit of overreaching. I don't have a strong opinion on the first one, approval for the most reviewable push. We do that in Gerrit in OpenStack, so we require 2 approvals. We don't have separate approval GTM. We have required 2 approvals on the most recent version. So that's a thing we do. So I guess I don't have any strong objections about this one.
all right.
Since I got your attention, is it possible somewhere here to make the testing jobs not required for things like owner changes and maybe like docs changes? Somehow exclude certain paths from this requirement, because it's pretty upsetting when you update README and you have to run 2 integration jobs.
Yeah, I have noticed the same, and it is pretty annoying. But I am actually not sure. Can we define it on that level? Because here all these settings are in a sense that we need to consider that these are the GitHub settings, but we follow or need to fulfill the PRAO or TIDE requirements as well. So that's why, for example, here we cannot turn on require approvals, because then it conflicts with the TIDE ownership and approvals. So Yeah, we would probably need to look into that.
Yeah, I think previously we tried to actually also investigate this, that if it's possible to not enable the test for those type of like docs or owners, but I think on a GitHub level we didn't find any settings, and on the PRAO level also we were not able to dictate these because GitHub then takes the precedence. So any suggestion would be welcome. At least we didn't find anything that would help on those situations.
Well, on the PRAO level, we can do that. But the thing is, we have the required jobs, as you see here, these two, which are not PRAO, but Jenkins, and they have to be passing before we merge. So if we could only use PRAO for everything, for integration tests, PRAO already has the capability to do that. But since we have Jenkins, we, as Kashif mentioned, we in the past tried to do some workarounds, some shell scripting. It worked for some extent, but then there were some problems like some PRs with branching, if I'm not mistaken. Like first it was changed just documents, and after the second commit it changed, not only document but some code changes, but it couldn't notice, so some PRs got merged without running integration tests where it's supposed to run. So we had to kind of work around that, and we didn't like it, and we reverted it back. But yeah, any suggestions or ideas are welcome, of course, if someone has better ideas.
I'm surprised GitHub doesn't provide that.
No, unfortunately, you cannot really do that from here.
Okay.
All right, good point. Anyway, we should fix that if we are ever able, but like I said, it is this magical combination of having half GitHub, half PRAO, half Jenkins, something mess that causes this. Yeah, and then the third option that we have considered, but I'm thinking that we are not able to do it, is the requiring assigned commits. Any thoughts on that? I mean, for the regular committers, it shouldn't be an issue because I think we are all verified with the GPG keys. But for example, random contributors probably do not have it.
I'm not sure what it solves in our case. I mean, it's a good idea when people have direct push rights. For example, if I can push to master, I certainly want me to have signed commits to make sure it's actually coming from me. When we have reviews and pull requests, like we already have a level of verification that commit is not harmful. So I don't know if it actually makes a lot of sense for us. And as I say, yeah, it's maybe a problem for newcomers.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we are then to a point that we might enable this approval needs to be on the final push, but otherwise we should be good as is. Is this the consensus?
Just to be clear, because I always confuse about this tied versus GitHub thing. When I just write /approve, we would mark it as approved in GitHub, not just in tied.
Yeah, but it is the bot that sets the label. It reacts to your comment and sets the label.
Okay, the label, yes, but will it be marked approved from GitHub's perspective, like GitHub approval?
No, that's the issue. We had some of the repository. If you scroll up, Furkat, we had this second topmost, this require approvals on for some of the repositories. And then we had an issue that we had an /approve and /LGTM, but it was still blocked because it wasn't approved by a maintainer in a review. So it didn't fulfill the GitHub's requirement of approval.
Okay, that means we cannot enable that, right? Because it has the same problem.
Yeah, that's why we cannot enable it. We had it and we had to roll back because we had some of the PR stuck in the merge pool and Tide wasn't able to merge them. And then we realized it is not the approval label that it's looking for, but it is actually a maintainer approve in a code review in GitHub that it was waiting for.
Right, that's my point. So we cannot enable any of this.
Actually, you are correct. Yeah, that is also the last one is also talking about the GitHub approval and not the just label. Good point. All right. Then we can forget all of those proposed settings and just keep them as it is. This is already a bit better than it was before, and now it's consistent over all of the active repositories. So yeah, that's it for me then. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Tuomo. Any questions, suggestions, concerns? Okay, thanks. If not, let's move on to the next point on Himanshu, Metal3 outreach.
Hello, everyone. So we are almost finished with the first stage, that is selecting the applicant, final applicant for the internship. Earlier, there were 58 submissions, and we have narrowed down to 20 after doing the first selection as part of that. And now, the applicants are required to submit by tomorrow their final submission, their final task, and then we will have till 3rd April to kind of review them and get back to them. So it officially starts in May. So that is the last date by which we have to announce the internship. So yeah, that's more or less about the outreach internship. Any questions? Okay. Okay, that's all from me.
Thanks, Himanshu. Yeah, I'll ask once again if there are any questions, concerns, suggestions. If not, I'll move on to the next item in the agenda. Ricardo, Metal3 Ironic CI integration.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick update that we are now running a CI job in Ironic Upstream that relies on Metal3 DevEnv main branch with all the changes that were done and approved. That thank you everyone for reviews and help on that. We are now able to run the Metal3 integration job in Ironic Upstream almost as intended. We're still missing one thing, which is under development. But yeah, it looks good. Thanks.
Thank you. That's great to hear. And yeah, thank you everyone for all reviews. And of course, Ricardo and Dmitry putting the PR together and making it happen. Any questions on the Ironic CI integration? If not, then moving to the next item, heads up, Ironic PDG next week. Dmitry.
Thank you. There should have been a reminder, but I was a bit late for this meeting. So Ironic Project Teams Gathering is a virtual event where Ironic developers meet to discuss pressing issues. It's where a lot of design work and planning work is done for the next half-a-year cycle. Anyone is absolutely welcome to join. I think you need to register for free. It's somewhere. Just ping us if it's not clear where. There will be discussions for Ironic specifically on Tuesday and Wednesday, mostly in European afternoon, one slot in European night, really, but I'll be there anyway. Of interesting things, if you scroll a bit up to the schedule, this is like notes already. The schedule is a bit above. That's a schedule. Yeah, that's a schedule. Interesting things will include discussion of merging Inspector into Ironic, which probably not the effort you're probably not aware of, but it will eventually affect us, mostly in a good sense. There will be service steps, which is the slot at 15:00, is about things like setting BIOS settings for already deployed node, which may be interesting to hear about for you. And the final one about beta abstraction for firmware upgrades, which is also going to happen on Wednesday night. This is driven by Metal3 discussion. The spec was proposed by NVIDIA people, and we want to take it over in Red Hat because we have interest for that. So that is going to be quite curious for people here too. Other than that, yeah, and on Wednesday afternoon, the cross-conductor comms thing, that will touch upon multi-conductor setup for standalone, which are, for example, Metal3. So of some relevance for us as well. And IPA communication is a bit further away, but still quite interesting. There's discussion. Oh no, actually, one of you, who was that? Adam maybe? We're asking about TLS for IPA, and that is that may be tied into that as well, because the reversing communication flow may fix IPA TLS problem just magically. So yeah, that's a schedule. You're welcome to join. It may be a bit overwhelming if you're not familiar with Ironic, but anyway, listening, ask questions. That's very good. And that's all for me.
Thanks for the update, Dmitry. It's really very interesting. Any questions?
Yeah, not really interesting. Even the one down ARM IPA image and CI, that also seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true. We want to have official, like I know people use ARM with Ironic already, but we want to have some official support for that. Oh yeah, IPA images. Good to remember, man.
And I see the sushi release model. Is it about the releasing or?
That's not going to affect directly us.
Mhm.
That's more about how we track releases upstream. That's probably a bit boring for you. It's like release versioning and branch management business.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, we have some people working on sushi tools. So, okay. Thanks. Are there any questions on the PTG planning?
Not specifically on this, but I heard the TLS from Adam. Yeah, that's originally me asking for it. So can you quickly summarize what was the plan for supporting TLS 1.3 in Oslo?
Okay, so to be clear, it supports TLS 1.3. What it does not support is a way to say, I want only TLS 1.3.
All right.
That's the thing they essentially removed from Python, more or less, at least in the form that Oslo is using that. So there's some substantial Oslo work to be done if that is what we want. Now for services, what we do instead, most of the time, we do TLS termination and some adult HTTP server like Apache on Nginx. I think we do it in Metal3 as well. We definitely do it in Bifrost, and people do it in other OpenStack applications. But this slot particularly is more about one of the ideas that had been floating for a long time is limiting the conversation flow between the agent and Ironic. Right now it's bidirectional. So it starts with Ramdisk talking to Ironic, then Ironic is talking to Ramdisk, then again Ramdisk heartbeating periodically. So That's not how people usually do that. I looked at Tinkerbell and other stuff. They use pool models, so that only RAM disk talking to the service. Because when the server starts talking to the RAM disk, here we get all the problem about TLS configuration, how to know IP addresses, what to do if IP address changes, all this sort of problems that we've just gone if you don't do that. So one of the ideas to solve this problem is, yes, just solve the IPA TLS problem by stop having any server on in IPA.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Is there any sort of timeline for this? Rough timeline?
This is not now. We need to agree if that's the thing we want, and we need to find people who want to work on that, which the latter is always a bit of an issue. The PTO, Jay Faulkner, may be interested in working on that. At least he proposed the initial spec, but that remains to be seen. If we get a person, we get a timeline. If we don't get a person, that hangs a bit in limbo.
All right, fair. Thank you.
Yeah. If anyone here wants to help and write some Python, of course, as always.
All right. One question on this. Does these PTGs happen every week, or what's the schedule for these?
They normally used to happen twice a year, so every half a year, which corresponds to OpenStack release cycle, which has 6 months. It feels like this time we're gonna have more PTGs than usual because we're gonna have this virtual PTG. Then during the OpenStack Summit, Open Infrastructure Summit, which is in-person event in Vancouver in summer, there will be an in-person PTG too. And I expect there will be another virtual PTG in autumn. So there may be 3 of them this time.
All right. I was thinking maybe if it's a good idea to add some information in, I don't know, maybe in the book, in the Metal3 book about this PTG, and also there was another one I remember you brought up in one of the meetings that was also ironic specific, but that happens maybe a bit more frequently. So that if people are interested, so we have information there, and whoever is interested can join maybe.
Right, I think one of the outreach tasks we have is to rework the community page. So that may be an action item for Himanshu and Ricardo to ask the interns.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's maybe add to the notes.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. If there are no other further questions, thanks, Dmitry, for the heads up. And yeah, and registration link is here for your reference. The next item from Kashif, CapM3 main branch prepared for CAPI v1.4 release. Kashif, please go ahead.
Thanks. So yeah, as it says, we have actually prepared the CapM3 main branch to be able to test the CAPI 1.4 release candidates, and proper release for CAPI, I think, is coming at the end of March, probably next week. But we are already enabled the testing on the CapM3 main branch with that. So if you see any issues, please comment. We are also planning to have probably similar to CAPI, a release candidate for CapM3 as well, hopefully this week. And we are also planning to have the patch releases for the release 1.3 branches, and I think 1.2 as well later this week, hopefully.
Thanks. Any questions on CAPI v1 Alpha 4 uplift work?
Beta.
Oh, sorry, beta. Yeah, it's not beta. Forgot that. If not, thanks. Moving to the next item, IPA images in Metal3. Dimitri, back to you.
Yeah, I should have talked about it. I just realized. So you probably haven't heard the news, at least those of us not in Red Hat, but Triple O, the OpenStack project, is wrapping up its activities, these upstream activities. That has implications for us. First, because we use RDO packages that are gated by OCI. That will probably be gone. So we'll just have to use vanilla RDO packages, not gated by the OCI. I think it's sort of okay because the OCI doesn't cover much of what we are doing. And anyways, all this stuff has been pretty stable, and I don't remember too many breakages from that. So we'll just keep that in mind, that at some point we may need to switch the repos. The bigger problem is IPA. So we are consuming, as you probably know, IPA images built by RDO from, again, OCI. So that they're still getting updated. I guess nobody has turned that off, but there will be a day when that is probably begun. We have a conversation upstream in Ironic about this situation, and we want to suggest that Metal3 uses images that are published by Ironic project directly without RDO bits, so built from source code. These are kind of our official artifacts. I'll actually paste a link where we publish them. That also ties into discussion of publishing ARM images, by the way, because we are also going to publish ARM images there. And we have, yeah, this thing. So the Ironic community thinks that Metal3 should be using these images. And if there are any problems with that, we can fix them together. They're built in a very similar way to RDO images, just from source code, not from packages. The only difference here is that these images do not contain extra hardware module, which bare metal operator uses for a couple of things. We again discussed that issue in Ironic as well, and we think that we can just extend the official inventory, the inventory is published by Ironic Python agent, to include the stuff that the bare metal operator needs, and remove references to this extra stuff from bare metal operator. Yeah, that's the plan. Then we can just use vanilla images. They're a bit smaller, which is also nice. Opinions, suggestions, objections?
What will be the implication of these extra things that you said would be removed from the BMO?
I think we just replace them, really, just make them come from Ironic Python agent official inventory. I did some investigation what it actually does. So we use this extra stuff for NIC speed, like there's a field in hardware data. It's all for hardware data, right? So NIC has speed GBps, and that is retrieved from this extra data. I'm looking at the source code, and I think the prot is actually incorrect, so I'm not sure it ever retrieves anything. But yeah, that's one thing. And the second thing, let me check. I think there was something comparably minor which we're getting. I think it was bias firmware version. So there's a bigger topic about firmware versions, but that will also need to be replaced with something. And we definitely want to start publishing firmware versions somewhere in the inventory because of the firmware upgrade work. So I think we should be good just getting rid of that without sacrificing anything in bare metal host API.
Okay, so then I think it's more beneficial because you said because the sizes would be smaller.
Yeah, maybe like 30 megabytes small or something, 20 or 30. It also will make us stop depending on Python hardware that only Ricardo is heroically maintaining alone, more or less.
Okay, one question on the timeline. Do you have any rough timelines when the RDO or triple O will start or like stop publishing images?
Nobody could provide me with such a timeline. I want to start working on this replacement work next week.
Oh, great. That's good to hear. I just want to make sure that we have somewhere some tracking issue, maybe that we don't forget about it. And yeah, if you're already up to that, that's very nice. Maybe we have to check. We had some IPA building CI jobs, if I'm not mistaken, and see if that would be affected. Most probably, yes.
Yeah, we do actually build it from the source, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check with Adam as well, how that would be affected, because that's what we use in the CI as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me know, because maybe we could use that. Although that's maybe a bit of a duplication of effort. And it depends on how much you customize that.
Yes, great. Are there any questions, concerns, or suggestions? Okay, if not, we are at the end of the agenda. Does anyone have any other item to discuss? If you didn't have any time, if you didn't have time to put it here in the list, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will go to the suggestions section. Seems not. Then there's one suggestion, I think, from Chai. Link meeting notes and specify meeting time in cluster API per metal channel.
Yeah, hi. It had been a while since I came back to the meeting. I had to again look for the Metal3 Talks report to find the link to the meeting and also the meeting notes. So I just had a suggestion that it would probably be better if we can pin this information in cluster API by Metal channel itself, so that it's easier to access.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention. Actually, we didn't put it. Yeah, so we have here in the Metal3 docs.
Yeah.
Under the community, but maybe not in the Slack. So maybe it's a good idea so that it's quicker. If I think it's
yeah, because that's the one that I think most of the people also are usually on. So I just felt it would be easier if that information is there.
Yeah, sure. Great suggestion. I think we will just add it here, and most probably also specify the time. Let's see. Are there any other questions or suggestions? Okay, if not, then we can close the meeting here. Thanks everyone for joining, and see you everyone next week.
Thank you, goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.